Hey guys, Shadow Reviewer here. Today, I'm looking at Avatar: The Last Airbender, Book 2, Chapter 9, Bitter Work. Yet another fun episode, so both Aang and Zuko are trying to learn different forms of bending. Toph is trying to teach Aang earthbending, while Iroh is trying to teach Zuko a form of lightning bending, with a mix of firebending, of course. I love the way these two plots interact. And they have different sides to it, where Toph is trying to be more aggressive and tough on Aang. Iroh is trying to be more calm, sensitive, and gentle in teaching Zuko. And I loved both of these elements combined. And I like Iroh's little lesson on how the different forms of bending work for each element. Water is nice and calming, earth is rough and tough, fire is strong and dangerous, while air is flowy and windy. And in a pretty sweet montage, Zuko and Iroh teaches Zuko a different form of fire bending that not even Iroh taught Azula. I'm like, interesting. And on a rather sad, unfortunate events, Zuko decides to try and do it alone. And man, does it lead on a sad downer note for him. Poor Zuko. The guy never catches a break. But at least at the start of the episode, he tries to help Iroh when he got physically hurt in the last episode. Hey, he failed, but it's the thought that counts. While in the main plot, Aang is trying to learn earthbend, but he can't seem to. And Toph is surprisingly hard on him. Like, she doesn't... She's not exactly subtle. She just goes full force, like a drill sergeant. Oh, keep this in mind, not all drill sergeants are bad people. But I will give Toph some credit. She tries to actually take Katara's advice in her own special way, which leads to just a fun montage. And while Aang unfortunately can't, despite all the montage section, Katara, being the absolute sweet angel that she is, tries to calm Aang and tell him that keep trying until you eventually get it. And I like the sweet moment when they're doing a bit of water bending that Katara tells him the opposites. While fire and water are opposites, what's the opposite of air? Earth. So Aang needs to learn to not focus on the air bending, but more focus on the hard surface of Earth. And honestly, Aang is going through a very realistic struggle, trying something new and failing. But in the end, you eventually learn. I'll give you a perfect example of this. Dancing. Now, I'm trying this new dancing technique for my dancing classes. And while I didn't instantly do it on the first try. It took me weeks upon weeks of trying to perfect feet movements, arm movements, turning. It's hard stuff, but in the end, you do the best version of what you've got. And Aang, throughout this whole episode, goes through a interesting struggle. He even sits down and talks to Sokka, who throughout this entire episode has been stuck in a little a rock in a hard place. And throughout a very interesting sequence with animal, Aang eventually learns to control and eventually defeats the beast. Even Toph is impressed, and not only does Aang stand up to her, she finally respects him as an equal. And at the end of the episode, he eventually learns earthbending, which, well done, Aang. Fantastic. Well done. Honestly, it's sweet that not only does Toph actually take Katara's advice on being nice and gentle, but also praising him. Even Toph admits that Katara is pretty much an equal. And I absolutely love Toph for it. This is character arc development right here. So, that's my review of Chapter 9 Bit of Work. A pretty fun episode with Toph and Aang's characters, while Iroh and Zuko's in the subplot. Tomorrow I'll be looking at Chapter 10, The Library. I cannot believe we're at the halfway mark already. Until then, I'm the Shadow Reviewer, signing off.